What's up, everybody? My name's Big Cam and welcome back to another episode of Comically Boston. Today we're breaking down episode 6 of The Penguin, titled Gold Summit. And this was another tremendous episode. Sofia, now Gigante, hot on the heels of Oswald Cobb. And let's just be real, CRISTON MILLIOTI and Colin Ferrell as Sofia and Oz have been absolutely unbelievable, and they're really crushing this show, and that prosthetics looks better and better every episode with Oz. And coming off of last week, Sofia and Sal Maroney teamed up to join their families and join the Giagantes and the Maronis together as one in solidarity against Oz and his forces. And it seems like between last week's episode and this week, Oz has been laying low for quite a while, because we open up this week's episode on the Gotham City skyline, and now it is snow building up on rooftops all over the place and on the ground and in the streets. So now it's clearly winter time, right? We had just gotten past November, so I'm thinking maybe a couple weeks, maybe 2-3 weeks. But I also did look up, because he had 2 buckets of mushrooms he had gotten back from Nadia Maroney after he had burned them alive, her and her son. So, you know, Sal's extra pissed still, because he's like, Oz is running around the city making moves, and he burned my family alive. Fuck him, you know? Like, but it does say that most mushroom farmers harvest between 35 and 42 days. So, you know, a little over a month and a week could have been since the last episode. And if that's the case, we're somewhere in the middle of like December somewhere, or potentially maybe getting towards Christmas into the new year. Either way, if we stay at this current moment in time for the next couple weeks, it's midwinter when we get back to the Batman. I don't know if that's just giving us little signs, but I really want that Matt Reeves grounded Dr. Freeze story against, you know, Robert Pattinson's Batman. Then you'll have Colin Farrell's Penguin in there, but now a Penguin that isn't just hey, I'm just the proprietor. He's more like, hey, I'm the boss. You know, like I'm smoking cigars and I'm being a badass. But coming off of last week, Oz and Victor found their new base of operations in an abandoned underground trolley system in Crown Point. And they've been using the tunnels and being underground the last maybe month or so, if my estimation of time is correct. And we open on this episode on the Gotham skyline snowy rooftops, and Oz saying, who's got the power in this city? The Falcons? Well, Sofia's the last of them, and she doesn't even like a fucking name. The Maronis? Sure, Sal's out of Blackgate, but his family's still fucking Ash. So who's got the power? And then we see the guy on the motorcycle ripping through the tunnels. And this was definitely supposed to be a tease of like, oh, remember who the last person you saw on a motorcycle in a tunnel was? Bruce Wayne in the Batman? He's also in a tunnel, but he's in Gotham. He's not in Crown Point, right? So I'm thinking still, we might see a Batman here in the tunnel. Or maybe see a Penguin and Victor stumble across a Bat cave in one of these tunnels. I would think that would be very interesting stuff. But who's actually on the motorcycle is Vic. And Vic now has a bike and shoes, and you know, this is a kid that had nothing. So now he's got some money in his pocket, he's got some shoes, he's got cash, you know, he's got some stuff now working with Oz. He's becoming a man. So we find out that Oz has been growing mushrooms down here in his base of operations in the tunnels. And it was right at the end of last episode. Hey, it's humid down here, it's dark, you know what strives down here? Mushrooms? Bingo, kid, you know, like. So he's been growing mushrooms, and just from those 2 buckets, he now has a whole operation of running bliss down here in the tunnels, and a whole crew of guys, all from Crown Point. And Vic comes into Oz's office with a big old bag of cash, and he goes, hey, how'd you do? Ah, look at this, I'll make a businessman out of you yet, you know. I freaking love Oz's lines. But we find out that Vic was selling to the Sullivans, an Irish mob here in Gotham City. We haven't met them yet, but we will later this episode. And then we hear Oz say to Vic, hey, the Triads might want to get in on this. And we know the Triads are big for overseas shipping of product and stuff. And those are how you get into the big leads, is with somebody like the Triads. we met the Triad's boss and underboss earlier in the season when Oz and Sofia were trying to make a deal with Zhao, leader of the Triads. We also find out that they've been running all of their operation down here in the tunnels off of generators, and that the city is sending all of the power to the rich neighborhoods, and Crown Point's just left to suffer. No power, no help, no nothing. But we hear from Vic that one of Sal's or Sofia's guys, which we know is now is one and the same thing, saw him make the drop to one of the Sullivan's guys. And Oz is like, hey, did you get followed into the tunnels? He's like, no, they didn't see me coming to tunnels. And he's good. As long as we stay sharp ducking into tunnels, the Maronis and Gigante, whatever the fucks, can sniff around up there all they want. They'll be too busy with their noses up that they'll never think to look down. Ooh, so Oz is making money, man. He's doing his damn thing. And Oz and Vic here have the good people of Crown Point working at work down in the subway tunnels. And he goes, we got their loyalty and love. You know why? Because we pay them. You know how meaningful that is to take care of people in your neighborhood? These people are going to tell stories about us, kid. And Vic's like, really? Victor Aguilar? Are you kidding me? Of course. And Oswald Cobb. And then the title card of The Penguin in red pops in. And then it crossfades with music Take Me by Karen Dalton. And now we see the snowy mansion of the Falcone's mansion. Or now should I say Sofia Giagante's mansion. And she is heavy breathing and then puts her clothes back on. And we see her toss on, you know, the shoulder straps and zip up the back and goes, takes one big gasp of breath. And she is entirely done with Julian Rush, because we see that she had Mr. Julian Rush here tied up to a chair, and he's got cuts all over his chest, and he's like kind of naked. He's got his pants around his knees, right? Just enough that you could pull it out if you needed to. And he was tied up to this chair, and she's like, are you hurt? You know, because he's bleeding from his chest from her claw marks, and he's like, I deserve it, because he was the one that tortured her for so long. And, you know, he seems unfazed by this torture, so maybe he was kind of enjoying it, a little sick fuck. But the internet's so funny. So many people were like, God, it could have been me getting getting tortured or used as a sex toy by Sofia. Hey, I'm down. But like I said, she took one deep breath and opens the door and is like, my security will see you out. And he's like, listen, if you find Oz and you need my expertise, let me know. So if you need somebody tortured, give me a call, Mr. Julian Rush, you sick bastard. She goes out to find Sal cooking in the kitchen like a real Italian late night. And he's stirring sauce or some type of meal, and he's listening to Beeve by Gigi. And Sofia says to him, fugitives really shouldn't be out of their rooms. And then she goes, do you need this chopped? And chops up some lettuce or parsley or whatever it is for him. And she goes, I wouldn't have pegged you as a cook. And Sal's like, hey, Nadia showed me all of her family recipes so I could pass them down. This dish that he's cooking is Koresh Banimani. I think I said that right. Forgive me if I didn't. But it is a Persian dish. You cannot forget that even though Sal Maroni is a notorious Italian name from the comics, they made him marry Nadia and have family and the family traditions of a Persian family. And pretty much what this dish is, he says, is eggplant, tomatoes, and a little bit of meat. And he goes, Taj, my son, liked it with a little bit of yogurt. And Sal gets choked up for a moment because Sofia goes, Taj was right, yogurt is very good with it. And he's like, laughs for a second, and then all of a sudden he's like, stabs the food a little bit, and then he starts to like almost cry, and then he's like, Oz is a fucking weed. And she's like, he likes the spotlight too much to stay hidden. And he goes, so the weed is sneaking around the city without protection and nobody's talking. He's selling your drug, and if he gets more local gangs. And she's like, no. And Sofia, people buy from who's selling. He got that part from Carmine. And she kind of gets all pissed, and he goes, yeah, it's like that, isn't it? You know, like, feels her pain. And Sofia goes, well, then we're going to have to make it very clear what it costs to mess with Oz. Oh boy. Not good going on here. But I do really love how she like just walks in and like, so he's staying at the Falcone mansion with her, and he's just cooking in the kitchen at late night. Like, this was dark. It was midnight. Like, Like, she just got down with late night sex torture with Julian Rush, and now she's in the kitchen having like a late night grilled cheese, like with your pops, like, but having this little dish here. I'm into it, but I love to see her, like, and him getting along, and then it kind of was a sweet moment. Seeing him cook for her, and then sit there like, do you like it? You know, like, and she's like kind of prison eating still. But, you know, Sal and her kind of have a nice little relationship. A little, like, dad that could have been if Carmine wasn't such a prick and a murderer. You know, and Sal's a murderer, but not like his own wife and women. Right? Like, Sal's a respectable guy. Carmine put him in jail, and now they're working together. Full circle moment, but just shout out Clancy Brown here for a moment, because he is wonderful as Sal Maroni. We cut over to Oz, and he's at that same apartment in Crown Point, that shitty apartment they've been laying low in, and it seems like they've been here for weeks now at this point. And he tries to play a record, The Glowworm by the Mills Brothers. And the shitty apartment is struggling with power, and tries to pull the generator a couple times, and it's not really working. Shorts out. And then we sit down for a family breakfast here with Oz, Vic, and his mother. And his mother looks like she's not in good shape at all. And Vic was like in the middle of cooking sausage and eggs, and he goes, those are cooked enough, let's go. You know, because the generator shorted out, so they no longer have heat. And his mother says to Oz, if you're gonna keep me cooped up in here like a goddamn POW, the least you could do is let me listen to my tunes. So she's like, listen, if you're gonna keep me in here like a prisoner of war, you can at least let me play my music. And he's like, you know, the fucking generator's not working, it's alright, Ma, I'll fix it later. But she calls Vic a good boy and kind of squeezes his cheek and almost looks at her like one of Oz's brothers, like her sons. Maybe she's just grown fond of Vic, because Vic's probably the one that's been checking in on her a lot more often than Oz is able to do. So, you know, maybe she's just grown attached to Mr. Vic here. But his mom is definitely not doing well. She's barely eating, and she's kind of starts to veer off with the dimension and starts to lose it a bit, and starts to call Oz his father. Hey, if you're not going to turn the heat back on, I'll go to Rex. He'll fix it. Right? So Rex Calabrese, this man that Oz looked up to, was who Oz's mom would go to help for when Oz's father wasn't available or accountable enough or responsible enough to do it himself, you know, so kind of undermining his father. But, you know, even Oz liked Rex more, you know, like, we've never heard Oz talk about his father. But Vic tries to help and tries to snap her out of it and goes, hey, don't worry about that, Francis. Jack just went downtown to pay the electric bill. Don't worry about it. It all got sorted out. And Oz is like, whoa, what the fuck's going on here? And this is clearly something that Vic has been doing with Francis to help her in Vic's mind. He's like, well, she's losing it and it seems to help and bring her back. But Oz is like, no, you're going to make it worse. No, don't do that. You don't have the right to say my brother's name. Don't do that. And then he looks at his mother and goes, hey, Mom, snap out of it. I'm not Dad. You know, and Rex ain't around, and Jack ain't been around in a long time. They ain't here no more, all right? And she's like, you get it? And then he gets a phone call, and it's from Link in the Triads. And they're saying they're out. Something bad happened. And Oz is like, turn on the news. And 3 Sullivan bodies, were found hanging in the streets with missing pinkies. And Sofia, I guess, is really leaning into the hangman. And Oz goes, Jesus, the hanging and the pinky? Jesus, Sofia, pick a fucking lane. But Vic gets a little scared, and Oz is like, it's a warning shot. Fucking Mork and Mindy are fucking flexing. And if you don't know who Mork and Mindy are, I believe Mork was an alien that was played by Robin Williams, and I don't know who Mindy was, but I know that this was a sitcom show that ran for a long time, and, you know, pretty much changed the game for sitcom television because they needed like a free cam to go at any moment, because Robin Williams would get up and just start doing shit, you know, like go freelance and start improvising. So just a Mork and Mindy reference, which is just hilarious. And Oz says this warning shot by Sofia means that anyone that gets caught with our product gets it. And he goes, I was this close to the Triads deal. Now I couldn't give away bliss if I tried. And then we see him like kind of stand and turn his back from us. And he thinks about it, mulls it over for a second, and turns back to Vic and goes, what if I did? And he's like, huh? What if I gave it away? So Oz's big plan here is he's going to give away the product for one night. No, you don't take money from any of it. But if Sophia's going to kill anyone that is found with bliss, because they're associated with Oz. She only knows that the Sullivans were associated with Oz because they saw Victor making that drop. You know, luckily Vic lost him so that they didn't find the hideout down in the tunnels. The Sullivans weren't safe enough that they couldn't find the Sullivans on their turf. But so Oz tells his guys, go out into the city and give Bliss away to everyone, just for today, just for tonight. So it's a pretty genius plan, because if Sofia's looking for anyone with Bliss to find the dealer, if everyone in the city's got it and nobody paid for it, who's the dealer? This is a genius plan by Oz, and honestly just a smart business move, right? Like, if you want people to buy your product, but you don't want to slowly build it up over time yourself, give it all away. Creates a demand for it, right? Especially a drug. Like, that's like giving away a batch of cocaine, letting everyone do it. Now everyone's a fiend for cocaine and they want to do it. So now you're the only guy in town with it. So now you make money on every other sale besides that first initial giveaway. That's a pretty good cost of doing business if you're somebody named Oz Cobb. And I love the shot of him here, and he's got the cigar in his mouth, and he's like, come on, come on, come on, let's go, let's go. You know, like, he looks like a businessman, and he's clearly been running the show, and he's got a whole bunch of troops and a whole operation running down here, and a place to call his own, and definitely an operation to call his own. Although he might have fucked Sofia and some other people over to get here, at the current moment in time, it's all on Oz and Vic, and, you know, he's running the damn show. And Victor seems like he's his number 2, which is cool for Vic. But Squid. Remember Squid a couple episodes back? Saw Victor Victor and Oz's mom walking into Calvin's house over in Crown Point, and he let that be because Squid just wants to make some money, but he, you know, isn't a very nice guy about it and starts to really kind of bully Victor and talk too much shit. And Squid sees Victor on the street and presses him a bit and goes, hey, where you getting this money? The drops business dried up, so what's good? Where you getting it? And Squid brings up Oz's mom, and he goes, what was with that old lady? Should I go looking for her? And he goes, I'm offering you my services here. Tell your people I want in. We good? Like, and it does not seem good. Like, Victor kind of tenses up, and I really was like, ooh, I hope Victor kills Squid right freaking here. But he doesn't. He walks away, and Squid goes, welcome back to the hood, baby. Squid's a little punk that has been running Crown Point drugs for a while, and we knew that back from what Victor's father said to him about Calvin hanging out with Squid back in the day. So didn't work out for them, and Squid and Victor are still here like cockroaches, and Squid more particularly, he's definitely a cockroach of Crown Point. And then we cut over to Sofia and Sal breaking into Oz's place in the city. His little, jewelry store thing. His place above the jewelry store that's like all got safe locks and shit on each of the doors. And Sofia and Sal start going through all of his belongings. And Sal says, we need to find someone he cares about. And then Sal finds a little picture on his desk and goes, who's this? And he goes, those were Oz's brothers. They both died when he was young, along with his mother, right? So even Sofia thinks Oz's mother's dead too, but definitely knows that his brothers are dead. And Sal's pissed. So he's got nothing? He takes everything from me, and he's got nothing? You know, like, oh, God, Sal's so pissed, and you can feel it, like, so angry. And she gives him a golf club and goes, you need to practice your swing. So Sal just starts smashing up the apartment. But Sofia walks into Oz's room and finds a drawer with ladies' panties in them in a picture that's a picture of Eve and says, the last song was for you, Ozzy, or something like that. And finds the Polaroid picture of Eve and goes, Eve, right? Like, finally remembers this woman, but kind of doesn't remember her, but definitely met her a few episodes ago. So Sofia should remember her. But like I said, it's been months probably from when that happened, so maybe she doesn't remember her. But she finds the picture of Eve, and now she knows who Oz cares about, and this is not good. The loose ends for Oz near are gonna get tied up, and it's not good. And then we see a very heartbreaking moment. Oz comes back to the place in Crown Point, and it's been all evening, and it's been all night, and he's been out working, and Vic was working too, so no one came and checked on her, and he was like, I should have checked on you, I'm sorry. But his mom either fell in the tub, or fell asleep in the tub, and has been there all night and couldn't get herself out, and the water's freezing. He's like, Jesus, Mom. She's like, don't look at me. And he like just, you know, this brutal murderer of a guy just, you know, gently takes his mother up out of the tub and puts the robe around her and gets her into the room, and it's so heartbreaking. And she like stumbles down into the doorway and like sits down in the doorway and goes, and like even his mom's in terrible shape, but even she knows it. And she goes to Oz, listen to me, I ain't gonna be like one of these old women, like gonna be a goddamn vegetables, you gotta help me die. And he goes, what are you talking about? She goes, I ain't gonna be one of these old broads shitting themselves and being fed and not being able to move. You're my boy, alright? I need you to help me with this. And he's like, Ma, I can't do it. You're not a dog. You're my ma. And she's like, don't pussy out on me. Say you do it. You'll be all right. You're my brave boy. I know you'll be all right. And right, so encourages him. But is also his mother asking him to help kill her. And probably, you know, not going to strangle her or shoot her, but he's probably going to get her, like, you know, some sleeping pills and then give her maybe a few too many, and then she goes to bed, you know? And only things were as simple like it is in Switzerland, where you can go and just sign out whenever you're ready. Like, but Oz clearly doesn't really know how to act, you know, when this is happening, and he's kind of heartbroken. He's like, you know, like my ma, you know, like, so he says he'll do it for her. And then gets her up, gets her dried off, puts her in a dress, and you can see him with his dirty fingernails putting makeup on her, right? And this guy hasn't slept. It's been all evening. He hasn't changed, hasn't showered himself. And it's more important at this moment in time to just help his ma and then make her feel good, right? Like, she's dying. Clearly, he clearly can think that he doesn't have a lot more time with her. And, you know, so he gets her all dolled up, puts a dress on her, puts makeup on her, puts the jewels that Alberto gave him back in episode 1 on her. Very sad stuff here, very sad stuff. But just gets her dolled up and doesn't take her anywhere. At least we don't see him take her anywhere. And now it's nighttime, and Vic comes back to the apartment, and clearly hours later, and Oz's mom is sleeping, and Vic comes back and tells Oz about Squid. And Oz, you know, initially hears what he says, but is just worried about his mom and is heartbroken about it. And then, you know, he goes, wait, but what's this what you were talking about? He goes, nah, don't worry about it. He goes, it's nothing. So Victor tells him, hey, this squid problem, I started to talk to him about, hey, no problem, don't worry about it. And then Oz looks out the window and goes, City Hall, shining bright, right? So from Crown Point out the window, he can see this giant dome building shining bright, and they're in a no-powered suite. And he's like, it's cold in here, right? There's no power? Mom needs some heat, damn it. You know, like so he's gonna get this shit fixed for him. So then we cut over to Sofia, and she's talking to the transgenders that we saw earlier in the season that were kind of had a flirting eye for Vic. Oh, look at brand new, hey honey, you know, like, and she's like, who's Eve? And they're like, never heard of her, and run away. And even though we definitely know that these ladies know Oz, know Vic, know Eve, and they're also at the apartment right below where Eve stays. And so the transgender ladies walk away, and then Roxy, the cam girl that was kind of hitting on Vic earlier in the season, and Oz was trying to set him up with her, and she's definitely one of Eve's girls, goes, hey, you're being a real buzzkill down here, but I might be able to help you for the right price. So Sofia pays Roxy for information on where she can find Eve, even though Eve's right upstairs. But we see Oz goes to see Councilman Haiti. And Councilman Haiti, the guy that earlier in the season that Oz wrote a note to with information and dirt on somebody, and it said, let's be pals, and the guy never got back to Oz. Oz goes, you don't want to be friends? And then sticks pliers in his nose. Sticks pliers in this guy's nose so bad that it starts bleeding. And he's also talking shit about his car as he walks up, and then Oz sees him and he's like, hey motherfucker, who do you think you are? You know, pinches him with his nose. And Oz is telling him, turn the power on at Crown Point, and my name's Oswald fucking Cobb, remember it next time. So hopefully Oz is able to get this congressman to do what he wants him to do, and maybe get some power back to Crown Point for the people and for his operation down in the underground trolley. We then cut over to Vic meeting Squid, and he tries to pay him off, and he gives him a stack of money and goes, hey, you know, I can give you this much. You know, we're not really looking, my people said they're not looking for what's going on. You know, we're not looking for help right now, but, you know, I can get you this money, I can get you more next week. And Squid's like, cool, you can get me next week? And then just throws a dollar bill on the ground. He goes, good, because it's going fast. And then throws the money back at Victor and goes, you think you can pay me off, Vic? You think you're big and bad because you're running with Oz? What the fuck? Oh yeah, I know about Wizard of fucking Oz. Nobody sees him, and he's out here pulling the fucking strings. And then threatens Vic again. And he's like, so are you going to take me to your fucking people or what? Like, come on, let's go. He goes, I'll follow you. And he goes, he's not going to be back for hours. And he's like, I can wait. Cool, let's go. And, you know, Squid is pushing him and to the point where Vic turns around and shoots him right in the neck. And this is clearly the first person Vic has shot or killed or whatever. And he's like, I'm sorry. Why the fuck do you have to make me do that? Right? Like, I love it when you see the first kill in somebody's eyes and you get to see how they react. Because some people, like in Oz, first time we saw him kill somebody earlier in the season, he laughed. And then, like, went, oh, fuck, you know, like, still had that moment of, like, oh, shit, what did I just do? But, you know, somebody as nice as Vic here, in the first moment he does it, he's like, oh, man, what did I do? Fuck! And then he's like, all right, I gotta get the fuck out of here. So he runs away, leaving Squid bleeding on the trash out in an alley. And I don't think Vic picked up the money either. So he's making that much money that he just left the money he was going to give Squid and just was like, ah, whatever. But we see Sofia goes to see Eve, and Eve lets her in, and she goes, I told Roxy to send you up and save us both the headache. The easiest money she ever made. And then she goes, would you like a drink? And Sofia's just got her at gunpoint and goes, you don't seem surprised to see me. Right, like, and Eve knew the moment Oz asked her to be his alibi that evening back in the first episode that Sofia the hangman would be at her door eventually. So Eve in her mind right now is already dead, right? Like, she's like, whatever, fuck you, you know, like you're holding me at gunpoint, I'm gonna have my drink and then walk by you like you're not gonna shoot me on spot, you know, like knowing that Sofia needs information or she would already have been dead. And Eve says to Sofia, well, you don't have to lie to men anymore. You got the power now. And Sofia goes, you're very good at telling people what they want to hear. And then she goes, so what is it with Oz? You love him? It's true love? And she goes, what I got with Oz ain't just one thing. Which is, you know, how a relationship should be. It's complicated, right? Like, sure, he pays her, and sure, he's here for her, and she's here for him, and sure, they talk about love, and they probably have good feelings for each other, but, you know, it's much more than just, oh, I like him. You know, like, it's relationships are far deeper than just one thing, and you have to be able to accept somebody for all of what they are if you're gonna make it work at all, right? Sofia says to Eve, you still think I'm the hangman? Oz never told you that it wasn't me, in that my father killed all those women? And because Eve was like bringing up the names of all the people that were killed by the hangman, she was like, Yolanda Jones, something, something. And she was like, those people were friends of mine. You didn't care about any of them. And she's like, you still think I'm the fucking hangman? I'm not the hangman, even though she has just hung 3 Sullivan mob members earlier this episode. So is she leaning in and she is the hangman, or is she not? Choose one. I mean, I think everyone's going to call her it anyway, so she might as well lean in a bit. But the initial murders of the hangman were all framed, and she still takes that a little bit to heart, because fuck Carmine, right? And after she goes, you still think I'm the hangman? Eve goes, well, you did come to kill me, didn't you? And she goes, you were his alibi that night. You knew. And she goes, not right away. But yes, I found out eventually. But Eve goes, okay, after you're done here, just stay away from my girls. And she goes, oh, really? This is what this is all about for you? You just want to protect your girls? And she goes, yeah, I got their backs and they got mine. That's what it's all about. And she goes, whatever I was born into, I'll never have that, right? So even though my family has power, I'll never have people that have my back just because you have theirs, you know? Like, and that's loyalty and love that you can't fucking buy. And Sofia decides to not kill Eve and just walk away. And Eve, because she doesn't kill her in this moment, and she wasn't going to kill her girls either, she decides to tell her, Crown Point, by the zoo, you deserve your shot. But where you got that information, and Sofia goes, it will stay between us. And I'm like, oh no, Eve! How the fuck could you do that? You were so close, so close. She almost left. You could have probably said nothing, and she could have just left with nothing, but you gave her something. And I think she gave her that initial information at the end there, just as like, hey, thanks for not killing me. Please leave my girls alone. But hey, it's what it is. But like, I love when Eve opens the door for Sofia. Sofia's got the gun pointed to her, and she goes, hey, how you doing? And she goes, you don't recognize me? Really? We've met. Like, and we saw them meet back in episode 2 or 3 or whatever. when they were selling the drug together. So Vic comes back to the hideout and Oz sees him and immediately knows something's up, and he's like, yo, you good? Vic's kind of like, yeah. You know, he's just not acting like himself at all. And Oz goes, is this something to do with the guy that you were talking about? And he just kind of like doesn't say anything, puts his head down. He goes, you make it out clean? Vic goes, I think so. And then kind of looks down, and Oz goes, don't look down, meet me here. And like Vic locks eyes with him, and he goes, you did the right thing. You protected the ones you cared about. You're a strong kid, and hugs him. And then whispers in his ear like a creepo, it gets easier. Oh, damn, Oz, you killer. You fucking killer. Whispers in his ear, hey, man, I know you just killed somebody. You didn't even have to tell me. I just know. And he goes, but you did it to protect us and to protect the people you care about. You're a good kid. You're strong. And hugs him and goes, it gets easier. Damn! So Oz is a killer. Don't make Vic a killer, but it seems like Vic's a killer also. Fuck. And Oz tells Vic, I want you home tonight. I need you rested and ready for tomorrow. And Oz goes to the big drop, and he's late for his own party and hops out of the truck, and he starts tossing out beers to everyone. And he goes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Gold Summit, which is the title of the episode. So the Gold Summit, and what he's referring to, is he gets every gang member from the surrounding towns and the people that he's trying to get for his business, and he meets them all at the same time to talk to them all at once. Can't have Sofia grabbing any of them or you know, getting in their ears and talking shit about Oz. Oz is like, listen, you guys know all this dirt about me. Let's fucking talk about it and get through it right now and decide if we're gonna make business or not. So Oz sets a meet for all of the mobs, even though they all hate each other, and he's trying to get them all underneath him for bliss. And he introduces the mobs, and the Massive is one of them. In the Odessa have beef that is legendary. There's a mob called the Low Boys, which is a woman with a shotgun. And he says the Low Boys scrap with everyone to get respect. And then he goes, you got the Triads, which everyone knows is the Chinese guys that we saw earlier in the season, and have the international connects that they need. And so the Triads are the biggest piece of this puzzle. And then the Sullivans, the oldest crew in town, not to mention the most hated man in town, Oz himself. So 5 different mobs in Gotham with Oz's 6th mob. So there's 6 different groups here trying to come together to sell bliss and be under Oz, and he's trying to get them underneath him. And the guys from the Sullivans goes, I got 3 guys strung up because of you. And Oz goes, no, I didn't get you guys killed because you couldn't defend yourselves. You want revenge? Go right over there. There they are, right across the Elliott Bridge. So, you know, then everyone in the group's kind of like, all right, well, he's got a point. Oz didn't hang those Sullivan guys. Sofia did, and it's not on Oz that they weren't able to defend themselves, right? Like, Oz can't be defending different mobs in different territories when he's not even close. But Oz says, Sofia and Sal don't give a fuck about y'all. Nobody does. You know, City Hall fucks are right up the street about a block from here, and they can't stand each other either. Yet they're all breaking bread, because alone they got nothing, but together their soft-bellied pricks run the whole city. Why the hell not us? Why can't we run the whole city? And Oz says, the real power is if we have each other's backs. And the Triads leader, Zhao, steps up and goes, he betrays everyone he works with. He's a fool. He has no code, no class. The Penguin is a bargain basement hustler. Ooh. I thought in this moment right here that Oz was going to turn around and shoot the Triad guy, because as he says the Penguin, Oz is like, right, and he's so angry, but he's like, gotta keep his temper under control a little bit. And Zhao says, Oz will do anything, say anything, and everyone here knows it. And Oz goes, do they, Zhao? Because as far as I can see, we have more power and more territory than anybody in the city here. But I do have a fucking code. And I'm putting myself on the line here tonight to share it with you. They will talk about this night and the time that we decided to work together with ones we hate, rather than live under the people who don't even know our fucking names. And then he goes, give me a beer. And he goes, look, everything you've heard about me is true. I stole Sofia's product. I popped Alberto Falcone. I did it all. So fucking what? I hustle. Do what it takes. Because at the end of the day, I'm just a poor kid from the east side that's got something to prove like all of yous. And he cracks a beer. And then everyone starts to crack a beer. And then the triads, the most important of the groups, cracks last. And then toasts as the music intensifies. And the music, the Mick Giacchino score here is phenomenal. The whole episode was great. The musical choices were great. But even just like the score that in this scene, phenomenal. But Oz toasts and goes, "To taking back Gotham." And we all think everything's all hunky-dory and good here. And we're like, ooh, yeah, Oz just fucking got this back. But then we cut back to Vic, back at the place in Crown Point. And he realizes there's blood on his shoe. And he's starting to wipe it off. And the lights pop on. The whole lights in the neighborhood. So the guy that Oz threatened earlier in the episode with the tweezers in the nose got all the lights turned back on in Crown Point. So this is huge for them. They're all excited. And but Oz's mom wakes up from a deep sleep and then realizes the lights is on and starts dancing. And we hear a bang noise. And Vic kind of looks but doesn't acknowledge it. And then they start to dance, Vic and Oz's mom, Frances. Now probably with heat and power and the music's playing, right? So no generator noise. They're having a good time. They're like, hey, he did it. And they start to dance to the Glowworm song that Oz tried to put on earlier in the episode, but the generator shorted out, so we didn't get to hear the full song. So now we're getting to see Victor and Frances dance to it. And Vic says, Oz did it. He got the lights back on. And as he says this, we see that Sofia is holding a crowbar. And this is one of the most haunting shots because we heard that bang. We were like, uh-oh, what was that? And then they start dancing. We're like, oh, all is good. And then it pulls back down the hallway and they don't see her yet. And she's got a crowbar in hand or like a pipe or something that she used to pop open the door. I think it's just a black crowbar. But yeah, so she just busted into and found this place from Eve's information in Crown Point near the zoo. And when the lights clicked on, a big thing said the zoo. And it didn't look like a zoo. It just looked like maybe that's what they called the apartment complex was the zoo. Then we cut to see that it's Sofia holding the crowbar. And she's finding out like, oh fuck, Oz has been hiding his mother all this time. And she knows that it's Oz's mom because she's saying, oh, my boy, my boy. And Vic's talking to her about Oz. And she knows Vic because Vic was his driver. And she met him earlier in the season. So she is not happy here. And as we look at Sofia finding out that Oz's mom is alive and that Vic and where they are, and the credits roll with Black Flowers by Chris Isaak playing, and then we get to the trailer for next week, and it seems like Oz gets taken by Sal, and his mom and Victor are already gone, and Sofia probably asked Julian for his help and his expertise in torture, because, you know, he said that earlier in the episode, hey, if you find Oz, let me know. He's a torture expert. We know he's good at torture because he tortured Sofia in Arkham, right? Like, so he's going to be torturing Oz's mom and Victor, while Oz is then going to get taken by Sal right after Oz just made this huge move and got all the gangs underneath him like he wanted and did what he said he was going to do. Right when it goes good for Oz, he takes one step forward and his two most important people in his life get taken by Sofia and Sal and got told on by Eve, his woman that he loves. And poor fucking Oz, man. The man cannot catch a break. But I'll tell you what I did see in one of the trailers for next week was this great shot of Oz doing like some badass killing and movements. And I was like, oh yeah, that's some finale stuff. But it's like a 1 second clip, so here it is. Yeah, 2 bullets through the chest, holds a guy as a meat shield, pulls him over, shoots again. Looks like he's got duct tape around his arm. I don't know if that's next week or the week after. All I know is that this was episode 6, Gold Summit of the Penguin. Comment below what your thoughts are, and stay tuned for next week where we'll be talking about the shortest episode of the season. It says it's only 46 minutes long, and that's titled Top Hat. So maybe that episode is either going to be a terrible episode for Oz, and we're going to find out his mom was killed, or Vic was killed, or something. They were taken, all goes wrong. But Top Hat, is Oz going to get his top hat, monocle, cigar, cane, you know, or umbrella and get that official, like, penguin look? I don't know. I would love to see him lean into the penguin monocle or moniker. by the end of this season, but it also looks like that season finale is called Great or Little Thing, and that's the longest episode of the season. So 2 more episodes of The Penguin coming down to the wire here, and it looks like it's going to be a phenomenal finish. I've been having a great time talking about this show and breaking it down week by week and just looking into it with such extra little detail and then talking about it with you guys. If you've been enjoying the show, please comment down below your thoughts. What do you think of Oz? What do you think about his poor mom's situation? Would you do that for your mom if she had dementia? Tough situation. Would you have killed Squid if you were Vic in his shoes? Would you have told on Oz if you were in Eve's shoes? Oh. Poor Sal Maroni and has a burnt up family. Like, this show, like, these are all murderers and bad people. But yet it's making me feel and like these characters for who they are, you know, and letting us learn more about them. I've been having an absolute ball with this show and cannot wait for this to end and then talk about the Batman Part 2 when that comes out. Got another 2 years for that, but I really don't want this to end, but it's coming down to the wire and it's getting really, really good. So comment below your thoughts. If you'd like to talk to me about the show more, follow me on my other social medias. Links in the description down below for that. Big Cam with 2 G's in the big, pretty much anywhere. Threads, Instagram, Twitter. You can look for this ugly mug and hopefully you find me. Comically Boston on Instagram. Weekly nerdy news podcasts every Monday morning, so stay tuned for that. Coming out every week after this show ends. There was one came out earlier today talking about Blade and how it got indefinitely canceled, so go check that out. Go check out my Agatha All Along breakdowns that have been coming out every week. That show's been a lot of fun breaking down during the Halloween season as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you've made it this far and you want to support the channel, the best way to do that is liking this video, subscribing if you're new, and hitting that bell so you don't miss future videos. My name is Big Cam. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you beautiful people in the next one. Peace.